Welcome to Spirited Investigations and welcome to Mississippi's haunted history. This list of 10 is part of a playlist of gentle listening, spooky collections from across the USA. The screen fades to black so you can enjoy the stories without distractions when studying or relaxing. Please do consider a like and subscribe if you enjoy this type of content. First is the Chapel of the Cross Cemetery in Madison. Dating back to the early 19th century, the chapel itself was built in 1852 to help a woman called Margaret Johnson deal with the passing of her husband. Margaret is thought to be the spirit who is called the Weeping Lady, seen crying at her husband's grave. Another haunting is at the burial plot of Henry Gray Vick. Henry was actually killed in a duel just before he was due to be married to Margaret's youngest daughter, Helen Johnston, in May of 1859. Helen was understandably distraught and reportedly wore her wedding gown to Henry's funeral. There have been a number of witnesses who claim to have seen Helen's ghost visiting Henry's grave or sitting on a nearby bench, always in her wedding dress. At number 2 is the King's Tavern in Natchez, the town's oldest standing building. Several ghosts haunt the tavern, including a lady named Madeline. It's believed that Madeline was the mistress of one of the original owners. Some say she was murdered by her lover's wife, but in truth, nobody really knows exactly what happened to her. However, in the 1930s, there were 3 mummified bodies discovered in the cellar, and one of those is assumed to be Madeline. Phenomena reported at the King's Tavern includes a phantom baby crying, strange reflections in the mirrors, and unoccupied beds being disturbed with a warm feeling to the touch as though someone's been sleeping in them. Staying in Natchez for number 3, we have the Towers of Natchez. The building stands out because of its distinctive architectural style and its reputation for being haunted. It has 6 distinctive arches in its central section. Built in 1798 and then receiving 2 extensions in the mid-1800s, the estate has recently been extensively renovated to reclaim its former splendour. During the Civil War, the towers served as a base for federal troops during their occupation of the town. Ghost sightings have been common, including Civil War soldiers and apparitions of the Fleming family, who were the owners of the house during most of the 19th century. Fourth on our list is Stuckey's Bridge in Enterprise, Mississippi. Legend says that one of the outlaws of the famous Dalton gang opened an inn close to the Chunky River. His name was Stuckey. He'd stand outside with a lantern in order to guide people along the river to his inn. However, once everyone was asleep, Stuckey would murder his guests, would rob them, and throw their bodies in the river. His terrible scheme was uncovered and Stuckey was hanged from the railings of the bridge. Now it seems that his restless soul haunts that very bridge. He's been seen walking with his lantern, still in search of new victims, and is sometimes seen hanging from the bridge as he did on the day of his execution. However, it seems he goes further than just lighting the way. There have been reports of people being pushed off the bridge by an angry apparition. Halfway through the list is the Grand Opera House in Meridian, now known as the MSU Riley Center. It's a magnificent red and white huge venue for the performing arts, but also has a more mysterious side. Legend has it that the Opera House is home to spectral performers from days gone by. During quiet times, staff have reported hearing the melodious voice of a female ghost singing in the auditorium. Her identity in life remains a mystery. The owner, Elliott Street, had a similar encounter with the female ghost. It was after his own experience with the lady, as Street calls her, that he began to look a little more at the portrait of a woman above the stage. He considered her to be the resident lady spirit of the theatre. The image, a woman's face framed by flowers, became the logo for the Opera House. At number 6 is the Franklin Cemetery in Gaucher. I checked and that's the correct pronunciation of Gautier. The Franklin Cemetery is reportedly home to several ghosts and the stories are next level for being bizarre. The only one that sounds reasonable is of Cheryl Ann, the ghost of a young pretty girl who simply walks about the cemetery. Then it all goes a bit wild. Her best friend is known as Bloody Sarah, who plays menacing pranks on visitors to the graves. According to reports, Bloody Sarah wears a blood-stained dress and runs frantically into the road, giving drivers the impression they've hit her with their vehicle. Then she jumps back up and runs away, while laughing insanely. Then there's Cheryl Ann's father, Hal, who allegedly killed Cheryl Ann, her siblings, and her mother. The ghost of a young gravedigger is also seen, who claws his way out of his grave, steals flowers and wreaths from other grave sites, and then returns to his resting place with the haul. Passers-by have reported seeing the gravedigger hitchhiking along the road, but when they stop, he informs them he's dead, and then he disappears. I mean, what a collection compared to fleeting shadows and soft whispers. Formerly known as the Garden of Hope Cemetery, the Franklin Cemetery is now on private land, so perhaps we can just leave the owner to deal with all those strange spirits. At number 7 is an old grave in the middle of the historic section of Glenwood Cemetery in Yazoo City. The grave is surrounded by chain-link fencing and is known as the Witch's Grave. According to legend, it's the burial site of an old woman who, at the end of the 1800s, was caught torturing fishermen to death who'd been down at the Yazoo River. The sheriff had chased her through the swamp, where she'd become stuck in quicksand. As the old woman sank deeper, she cursed the town of Yazoo and promised to return in 20 years to burn it to the ground. No one thought much of that curse until a major fire in 1904 destroyed over 300 buildings in the town. Witnesses said the flames leapt through the air as if they were carried on high winds. Some said it was the work of the witch. A twist is that the chains around her grave were discovered to be broken open the day after the fire. At number 8, the McRaven House in Vicksburg is considered to be the most haunted house in Mississippi, and is also ranked as the third most haunted house in the entire United States. Built around 1797, the mansion was a Confederate hospital back in the Civil War. Several former residents have died inside the house, with one of them actually being murdered there, the original owner, John Bobb. He became upset at soldiers picking flowers on the grounds, and when they wouldn't stop, he threw a brick at them, then reported the men to their higher-ups. The men were outraged, so killed him, which is taking things a bit too far, don't you think? Another death at the mansion was of the famous highwayman, Andrew Glass. Over the years there have been thousands of reports of paranormal activity from a variety of witnesses. Some of the many apparitions spotted in the house include Civil War soldiers, Native Americans, and some of its previous owners. At number 9 is the Crossroads, which is at the intersection of Highway 61 and Highway 49 in Clarksdale, Coahoma County, Mississippi. 3 large guitars form a marker to where blues musician Robert Johnson allegedly sold his soul to the devil and became incredibly talented overnight. Born in 1911, Johnson's song Crossroad Blues was recorded in 1936 and is about the legend. That song was recorded just 2 years before his death in 1938. There are in fact 3 other crossroads where he's thought to have sold his soul, besides the one in Clarksdale. Dockery Plantation near Cleveland was a hub for blues musicians, and the crossroads is where some say that ridicule from other more experienced people spilled out there with his wish to sell his soul. Rosedale Crossroads in Rosedale is the next. Johnson includes mentions of Rosedale in his song Traveling Riverside Blues. And Beulah Crossroads. That one is where Johnson would have crossed after taking a train from the Dockery Plantation to Rosedale. The train was a very popular choice, it linking many small towns in the area, and the Beulah Crossroads would be the last intersection before Rosedale. It has the classic look of a 4-way crossroads, so much so that a film called Crossroads was shot there in 1986. Finally, at number 10 we have the Three-Legged Lady Road, also known as Nash Road, in Columbus. Depending on which story you hear, the three-legged lady was perhaps the mother of a young girl who lost her leg in a car accident. Her mother found the leg and wanders along the road looking for her child while carrying it. Or it could be an insane woman who sewed her lover's leg to her body. The various stories share a common thread. If you drive down the road, you may just find yourself pursued by the running ghost of the three-legged lady. She might strike the hood of your car with forceful blows. The story is different to a lot of road-based legends in that the exact location is given for where the events occur, between house numbers 2661 and 4548 on Nash Road. Thank you for joining me on this little journey from haunted crossroads to three-legged ghosts. Mississippi has got some great tales from within the state. I hope you'll join me for the next one.